Hi, I'm Micah Woods, Chief Scientist at the Asian Turfgrass Center. I've shown how total organic matter samples, when they're burned at the laboratory, all of the organic material in the sample just turns to ash. And because of that, all the mass of it is gone. And as you measure that mass loss on ignition, you can find out how much organic material was there. This is really interesting, but I'm curious about some samples that are sent at a larger size. So I've collected some zoysia, some Bermuda grass, and some seashore paspalum that has really thick underground roots and rhizomes. And I'm going to have these sent to the laboratory, and I want to see what they look like at the lab after the sample has been burned with none of that material removed. I have collected some samples of zoysia, Bermuda grass, and of seashore paspalum that I'm going to have tested at the lab to show what they look like before and after they are burned at 440 degrees Celsius. This is a zoysia sample, an OM2 sample, and you can see that after I've dried it, there is you can see a bit of thatch there. You can see the very dried grass at the top. You can see the sand that's in there, and then you can see a lot of organic matter. Remember, when these OM246 samples are tested at the laboratory, they are not going to be screened. The sample will not be screened at the laboratory, so all of that material will stay on the sample, will stay in the sample, and it will be put into a muffle furnace and burned at 440 degrees Celsius. You've seen what it looks like now when the sample is dried, when it's air dried. And we'll try to take a look at it later after the sample has been burned in the muffle furnace. Here is a Bermuda grass. This is Tiff-Eagle Bermuda grass. Now it's dried, and this is what that OM2 sample looks like. You can see there's a bit more organic material right at the surface, and then going down there's a bit more sand, and this entire little plug, in fact there's 5 of them. Here's another one. So there's going to be 5 of these plugs, and I've shown pictures of these. These little plugs will be burned, and the amount of weight loss when they're burned, the mass loss on ignition, that's going to be reported and compared to the original weight, and that's how we can figure out how much organic material was there. I've also got seashore paspalum, and I'll pick a good one here. I've got 5 of them to choose from to show you what I want to show. I think, yeah, this one. So this is a little seashore paspalum plug, and when this was fresh, you could see, we'll look at the bottom of it now, and can you see this like solid white little thing? That is a root or a stem or a rhizome. There's a couple of them in there. They are really thick, and I really want to see what happens with these if they get completely burned up and completely, if that mass loss is completely burned when they're at the laboratory. Now with these samples, I'm sending a couple other ones too. I've got some that's just straight sand in a bag here. So here's sand in a bag with a tiny bit of organic matter in it. This is a river sand that I use here in Thailand to grow some plants in. And then I've labeled these bags as pseudo, ATC pseudo, for pseudo thatch. I've made some artificial thatch, and this one is less than, this one I label OM33. This is actually less than 33% organic material by weight. So this also has, this has 20 grams of sand in it. It's got 7 grams of organic matter in it, but look at the difference. You can just barely see a little bit of sand down here, and then that organic matter takes up the bulk of the sample. I've got some blog posts about the difference in volume that's occupied in the soil by expressing organic material on a mass basis or on a volume basis, and this really demonstrates that for me. So I've got some more pictures of that, and I'm gonna have these tested too. This one actually is 100% pseudo thatch. So with this one, I didn't put any sand material in, I just put the pseudo thatch material in, and I want to see what that looks like after it's burned at 440 degrees Celsius. This is really interesting to me to see how the laboratory processes and how the sample collection process and the sample treatment process can be optimized and streamlined as much as possible to make sure that we can really understand the results and to make sure that those results can be very useful. I've got these samples all bagged up now, and I'm just walking out to the print shop here in town and then over to the post office to get these sent to the lab. I'm sending these to Brookside Labs in Ohio, USA. And to send samples to the lab in the US, I need to make sure that it's got an import permit on it and a special label on the outside of the box that's unique to this shipment that gives these samples permission, because it's quarantine material when it goes into the US. So I need to make sure that I have all of that paperwork just right before I get it in the mail. Well, it's pretty convenient. There is a print shop right next to the post office. So I'm coming up here to the post office and see if I can get these sent by express mail to the lab. Well, I got those mailed, so they'll be speeding their way to the lab, and hopefully in a couple weeks I'll have an update about this and I can show what they look like after they've been burned. I'll put in the description to this video some links to some previous pictures that I've taken and some previous writing that I've done on this topic. And as always, you can get more information about this and all kinds of other turfgrass issues and topics at my website, asianturfgrass.com. Thank you.